don't we start with the NBA? You know how they say there is no such thing as loyalty in pro sports. You know how they say that, right? Whoever they are, they're right. And you don't have to take it from me. Take it instead from Chris Paul. After this week, he would know better than anybody, at least if you believe what he's saying this week about his trade to the Wizards. The Bradley Beal swap allegedly, supposedly, makes a super team in Phoenix. Never mind that we were all led to believe that they already had their super team in Phoenix the day KD showed up. But that's neither here nor there, because right now there's more and more chatter about CP3 right now, both about CP3's future and, let's just call them interesting things that are being said about the trade. So, Paul was already booked on Good Morning America yesterday as a total coincidence because he's got a book that's dropping. So, total coincidence, really fortuitous for Good Morning America, but very awkward for the nut puncher. Because we now know, at least according to him, that he found out that he was dealt on his flight to New York for that appearance, which is exactly what he told them on GMA when he sat down to speak with them. I like how Stray jumps in there to cover his fellow athlete. Hey, man, get off this guy. It's bad enough he found out on the plane. And the others are like, wait a minute, you found out on the plane? What'd that feel like? Is that really how that went down? Stray's like, hey, man, you got no idea how hard this guy's trying to put in his chill level right now. He sounds fine. He looks fine. He's not fine. Dude's freaking pissed. You know he is. Listen, CP3 might have held back on GMA, but he held back just a little bit less when he spoke to the New York Times. It was there that he said he did actually find out about the trade via a text from his son, which is pretty rough. And he was also pretty upfront about who he thinks influenced the decision to trade him. Remember, the dude made it pretty clear that he did want to stay in Phoenix. He made it pretty clear to the team that he wanted to stay, even though there were reports that he would be dealt or he would be released. He said he wanted to stay. He liked it there. And the team made it very clear that, well, they didn't like him there as much as he liked it there. But who exactly was over CP3? Who wanted him out of there? Who was the guy that pushed him out? Here's what CP3 thinks happened. Here's what he told the Times. Quote, it's tough. Seriously, it is part of the business, and what you realize is that no one owes you anything. No matter how you are with them or what you do, you realize that in this business, nobody owes you anything, as it should be. But when it comes through and my son texts me, and I realize that, Matt and Isaiah, I guess, just wanted to go in a different direction. Wait, what? Matt and Isaiah. Did I read that correctly? Isaiah. Isaiah with only one A? You mean like Isaiah Thomas Isaiah? Are we talking about Zeke? That Isaiah? Is Isaiah the one calling the shots in Phoenix? Or in the very least, does he have the owner's ear? Don't the Suns have a former executive of the year in GM James Jones? Shouldn't that dude be the one making the important decisions, like moving on from Hall of Fame point guards? Listen, I'm not exactly the biggest banana boat guy or the biggest CP3 guy, and I know this dude gets hurt every single year at the worst possible time, and I know he's aging out, and I know he punches guys in the nuts, and I know he rubs some people the wrong way, maybe even most people. And apparently that includes some people in Phoenix, namely Zeke. But doesn't that guy deserve better than to find out that he got traded from a text from his kid on an airplane? Doesn't he deserve better than Isaiah Thomas making decisions about his future, allegedly? We are talking about a dude who's number 3 all time in both assists and steals, i.e., way better than Isaiah in both categories. I'm not saying that Isaiah made the decision in a vacuum. I'm not saying he made the call. But you can't tell me that he didn't have something to do with it. Or moreover, I don't know that to be true, but CP3 thinks it's true. He said it. I guess Matt and Isaiah decided to move on. Why not just say, I guess Isaiah and Matt decided to move on? I'll ask once again, what happened to James Jones? Well, according to CP3, Jones seemingly gave him no impression before he left for New York that a trade was imminent or even on the table. I showed my phone to my wife because, I had talked to James Jones yesterday or whatnot. New York Times said, quote, and did James Jones give any indication that this was on the table? How surprised were you by that text from your son? Times writes, Paul paused, quote, I was surprised. New York Times, I can see it in your face that you're trying not to talk too much trash right now. Response, quote, no, because, like I say, it is what it is. But like I said, Matt and Isaiah must have wanted to go different. End of quote. Yo, my man, Chris, dude, it's smack off season. Smack off. Let it fly. Or if you want to make it a beef, make it a beef. This is your last chance to do so. Next week is our last beef segment before the beef off season. If you've got something more to say, my dude, now is the time. It is the season. Let it fly. Smack off season, beef season. Because you know the guy's got so much more to say. And you know that there is way more behind the scenes than what we're being led on to believe. You know there's a lot more to the story of Isaiah apparently turning Matt against CP3, or at least being in his ear about CP3. Matt, by the way, was clearly lying through his teeth when he told the media back in February that Isaiah had no role on the team. Hey, Matt, you said that if, in fact, there was a time when Isaiah had a role, you would tell us, but you have nothing to tell us at this time. That was back in February. Let me ask you something. Do you have anything to tell us this morning? Because a future first ballot Hall of Famer and longtime former president of the Players Association just said that Isaiah was in on the decision to move him. You said you would be the first to tell us if Isaiah had a role, and you missed that window, but you might still want to let us know. Is there anything you want to tell us? Yes, it's your team. Yes, you're the billionaire. But you did tell us when you had something to tell us, you would tell us. We're all ears. Especially Adam Silver. Hey-oh, maybe he has no role. CP3 seems to think he has a role. CP3 thinks he not only has a role, but he had something to do with CP3 getting broken off. As far as Isaiah, you got to give it to this guy, man. I cannot get over how many lives this cat has. No matter what happens, this dude always seems to reemerge in some new power role somewhere, even though it never seems to work out for him anywhere, anytime, since his playing career ended. Sometimes it takes longer than other times for him to get back into a position of authority. And sometimes he gets introduced incorrectly. From FIU basketball coach to being in the owner's ear with the Suns, man. You can't kill this dude. My man always comes back. Hey, no offense, Chalk. This dude's the ultimate vampire. And again, as I always say, if you're going to hire Isaiah Thomas as the FIU basketball coach, you're doing so for one reason, his name. So what are you doing butchering his name in the intro? Isaiah Thompson? But President Medique and the rest of you, man, step your game up. But President Medique empowered the dude to make the introduction, and the introduction was an epic failure. Isaiah Thompson? Come on, man. Former White Sox slugger Frank Thompson, can't believe that. Anyway, through it all, for Isaiah, there's always another opportunity. Somehow, some way, this dude always finds his way back to a power position or a position of influence. This dude is the ultimate example of falling forward. And make no mistake, I believe that Chris Paul believes that Isaiah was involved, maybe even heavily involved. Isaiah and the owner are tight. We know this. The owner says as much. Tight enough that the question about Zeke's influence and the role was brought up by the owner on his first day of owning the team. These two are tight enough that on the night that the owner squared off against the Joker in the Nuggets series and then flopped all over the ground, the dude sitting directly next to him courtside was, wait for it, Isaiah Thompson.
Isaiah Thompson.
So how much influence does Isaiah have? I don't really know. But you can't tell me he has none. And in the very least, he has as much access to the owner as he wants. And at the very most, he just traded Chris Paul. Either way, it seems to me there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and Zeke is back to his old tricks. And while the other nut puncher isn't the most popular guy outside the banana boat fraternity, he did deserve better than to find out on the plane from his kid that he had been dealt. He is a Hall of Famer. Anyway, especially after he says the actual GM led him to believe that there was nothing imminent. For right now, I really just have to know this. Did Matt and Isaiah celebrate their big trade by chopping it up and breaking bread at Red Lobster? My pleasure. I just sent CP3 to Washington. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.